Is it on now? Okay, I shall say got it. Right. Hi, I'm Jackie Cooley, and I'm a glass artist that's based in the Ruskin Glass Centre in Stourbridge, part of the Glasshouse College. I live near Shrewsbury though, so I'm very much a Shropshire girl as well. So it was quite interesting to get asked to do this today, because obviously as a glass artist, I don't make my living as such from making botanical inks. I'm very much an enthusiastic amateur, as I explained to Mandy and Anne-Marie, but they still wanted me to do it. So here I am. I might just quickly walk you around, just to have a quick look at my studio. Let's just have a very quick tour of the studio. Now, how do I turn my camera around? Can I do that? Right, okay. So I am very lucky. I talked about the studio in my podcast, and you can see the rest of the glass centre out through the windows. So that's the main building, and you've got all the other units on the opposite side. And you come round, there's some of my glass pieces in the cabinets, some little test pieces that I've done at the bottom. And I've got some pieces in this cabinet here. And then we turn it around, all sorts of rubbish on the shelves. I am very lucky. This is a very nice studio. So all my rubbish that I've got on the table for my ink demo, and all the equipment and lots of stuff everywhere, and kilns, because I'm a glass artist and I use kilns to make my glass. And this is Tim's work in the kiln here. Tim does work experience with me here as part of the Ruskin Glasshouse College. And these are some pieces that we've been working on over the last couple of weeks, which is great. I've got a printing press that I've not used yet. Somebody turned up at the studio one day and gave me this old printing press. So maybe sooner or later, I'll get round to doing something with that. So let's go back. Okay, I'm just going to show you very quickly as well. You'll be thinking, when is she going to start talking about botanical inks? But I will get around to it very, very soon. I'm just going to share my screen and go to my, hopefully this is going to work. Yes. My photos. Okay, so just to show you a bit of my glass work that I've done. So public artwork, I talked about in the podcast. I'm not going to say a lot about them. It's just a visual thing for you to just get an idea of what I've been doing. I don't want this to take too long. Trophies, public artwork. These trophies were made with the community. This is a project for a school in Wolverhampton. So I had water jet cut leaves and images of leaves printed on the surface. This is a project in Wolverhampton, large scale public art. And this is in Wolverhampton as well, probably 20 years ago, nearly 20 years ago now. Some of my artwork comes from the public artwork. So there was a flour mill on site here. So you can see the flour, what's it called, the millstone. And that pattern on the top of that left-hand column sort of came across into my artwork in glass. And I found that a lot of the public artwork that I do sort of feeds across into my studio pieces as well. So this was a large piece again in Wolverhampton. It's about 80 feet long. And I made smaller pieces based on the designs of the public artwork. This is I talked about this in the podcast, and this is the Lee Hall Social Club in Rugeley, which is a fantastic project. I really enjoyed every single aspect of this project. Again, it was about 20 years ago, and I think it's still there and still going strong, I hope. I do private commissions. public commissions. This is a mosque in Telford in Wellington, where I made the entrance feature, and I worked with an artist who's a stained glass artist who helped me to make the frame and install this piece. This is my MA work that I did based on the village of Quat, and I talked about the shadow of the hinge on the door of the village hall, and this is the hinge giving me the inspiration. I looked at things that reminded me of people that used to live in the village, because you hear lots of stories about the people that used to live there. It's a National Trust village. And I made a series of pallets of interesting marks that I could use on pieces that I was going to make for my master's degree. And these are some of the pieces that I made based on that hinge. And playing around with glass and photography and projection. I did all sorts of things for that project. And these are based on the hedgerows that I talked about in the podcast. And this is a map of Quat. And I had a video that ran at the bottom of the bowls that I put a camera and I drove past the hedgerows and had this lovely film that showed the hedgerows around Quat. And these are some great images showing the video footage in the bottom of the bowls and some of the imagery. And I made a little map, a little folding map that people could take away at the exhibition to tell them about the marks that I'd used in the mark making on the bowls. And this is some of the final pieces. And now we're on to Botanical Inks. So I joined the Boundary Way Botanical Ink Collective. I think it was the summer of 2021. And Carolyn Morton, the amazing Carolyn, did a class at Boundary Way, a sort of online session, a bit like this really. And she showed us how to make botanical inks. And we've got together ever since. And we formed an ink collective, and we set ourselves challenges every couple of months. And we send postcards out. I've got a big stack of postcards somewhere that people have sent to me. So lucky to get these amazing things in the post. I don't know whether you can see that over the top of my screen, probably not my screen sharing, but I've got a big stack of postcards here, which I very much treasure. And one day, one of us has made beautiful books, handmade books that they put all their postcards in. And one day I'll get round to doing that when I've got the time. So with these colour tests here, you can see that I've started with an unmodified ink, and then I've tested it by adding all these different modifiers. These, I made them probably in 2021. They've actually faded quite a bit. This is quite the interesting things with botanical inks. You paint them on the paper, and even as they're drying, they can change colour. The oxygen in the air might change them, or they might just fade over time. So it's quite interesting that it's not like using commercially produced inks. So they've very much got a mind of their own, really, and you just don't know what's going to happen to them with time. So these were done a little bit later. They've still got quite a lot of colour in them. The red cabbage is absolutely beautiful. I've got red cabbage, and I'm going to show you how to make that one today, because I think you can get a really fantastic colour range with the red cabbage. But it absolutely stinks when you're making it, and your studio will smell. And every time you open the bottle to use it, it's a pretty hideous smell that comes out of it as well, as you can imagine. You know, boiled cabbage, it's not great. But, you know, the colours that you get are absolutely amazing. So just showing you a few more here. Onion skin, I made that one not that long ago. Really beautiful colour range that you can get. Avocado skin again. It's just absolutely beautiful. And some ones that I've done really recently. The grass one there at the bottom, the grass cuttings. Sometimes, you know, you put loads of green stuff in your pan and you just think you're going to get this amazing colour, and hardly anything comes out of it. And as you can see, the unmodified one is so pale. And then I steeped it, I kept it on a low heat for a little while. And then I reduced it down. And that's when you started getting a little bit more colour coming into it. And then when I added the modifiers, I got amazing colours, which, you know, I was really, really pleased about that. Greens are actually quite hard to get. So the thing is, you just test and you just do, you know, especially when you're using things like onion skins and bits of, you know, red cabbage, if you've got a little bit left over, the outer leaves that you might otherwise throw in the compost. I've got onion skins, I've got all sorts of things behind me here. So it's sometimes using things that you might otherwise compost or throw away. It's even better. These are some of my botanical ink postcards that I've done as part of the challenge. I always kind of cheat a little bit. I use an ordinary black pen, you know, a nice drawing pen. So it's not all botanical ink on these postcards. And I often use recycled paper as well. And obviously the types of paper that you use will also affect the colours that you get. And it's quite an interesting process in itself, just to test all the different types of paper that you've got and see how the ink reacts and what kind of colour you might get on different kinds of paper. And also the type of water that you use as well. I've listed rainwater on my list of materials, but if you used seawater or tap water, you know, you'd get different effects again. So it's really interesting and, you know, worth trying. Anything is worth trying with botanical inks. So this challenge was about, I think it was a COP conference or something, and I chose to do mine on endangered species in the British Isles. So I've got, you know, red squirrels and types of beetles, turtle dove, and that was my set that I sent out. We coincided with the winter solstice, so I did my postcards based on Stonehenge. Again, I use, you know, and we all do different things. You know, we use collage, we might just use the inks on their own. We all do something different when we send it in. Sometimes people use fabric, or they might dye seed heads and things like that in the botanical inks. So, you know, lots of different things that you can do. This, the black lines on here, this is the reeking. We were doing stuff about folklore, local folklore for this challenge. And this was a charcoal drawing that I had left over. So I cut it up and used them on my postcards. And these beautiful colours in the top there are the botanical inks that I've used. Let's go through these. So I think these ones are my favourite ones, actually, the reeking. And there they are as a set. This one I did about my little raised beds that I've got in my garden and what I was planning on growing. And I also used soil on that one. And I made an ink just with the soil, just literally mixing it with water and just pushing it onto the paper. These marks here, they aren't botanical inks, but it's leftover paper that I had from a project. And they are marks that I've made on paper using hedgerow brushes, where I've collected dried seed heads together and made little brushes with them. But still really, really nice to use, you know, recycled papers to make your postcards. And this is another one where I can't remember what the challenge was now, but I obviously decided to make leaf cutouts and sent everybody the actual postcard with the leaf as well. So they got like 2 pieces. And then I encouraged people to look around their space and create different backgrounds for the leaves. And this is just spaces that I could find in the studio, things that I could pick up. And this was a recycled Christmas one. And actually there's no botanical ink on the front of this, it's on the back. But I used wrapping paper and the Radio Times, and I made image transfers onto the postcards for this one. This one, Love and Resistance, I made these at the time when you couldn't get tomatoes in the supermarkets, and they seem to sort of represent a lot of interesting things going on at the time. And this is the latest one, another growth challenge. I can't remember what it was, Sally, was it? It's a growing thing, that's what it was. So again, I did my raised beds and what I'm planning to grow. in my raised beds, so that you can see that the colours are very, very subtle. It's not like bright commercial inks that you can get in the shops. And I think it's a palette that you have to learn to work with. And, you know, you're not going to get instant colours. You're not going to be able to match the colours if you want to paint with them. You kind of have to go with what you've got. And I think it's a really interesting way of working with the materials. So I'm going to get one on the go. I've got my rainwater here that I keep big tubs at the back of the shed. I haven't got a water butt set up yet, but the big tubs, it's surprising how quickly they fill up with water, especially lately. I've been given this beautiful induction hob by a friend of mine who moved house recently, and it's absolutely amazing how quickly it comes to the boil. So if you can get hold of one of these, then I think you're going to save a lot of money on energy costs. So I'm sticking the cabbage in. I can smell it already. It's pretty horrible. Tim, if you come and visit me in the studio later, I might have to have the windows open for a while. It's really smelly. Right, I'm going to turn this one on, get it on the go. You might hear the fan going in the background. I hope that's okay. I hope you can still hear me all right. Is that all right? Or do you want me to turn it up? No, it's okay, the sound. Right, I'm gonna, I've got it on full. I haven't got very much water in there at the moment. Really, I should have put the cabbage in first, I think, and then tip the water over, because I don't want to have too much water in. I don't want to make it too diluted at this stage. I'm going to try, now I've got some avocado skins. I mean, it's really great if you can make botanical inks with things that you would otherwise throw away. So avocado skins, the shop here, the cafe here is brilliant, and I can ask them to keep things for me, and they do. And they've been saving me avocado skins, and my sister has his base next door as well. So I'm just going to get some water on these. Hopefully that's going to start quite quickly. This is like watching paint dry, really. Hope it's, hope it's not too boring. Water in these. I really don't know what these are going to be like, because they're so dry.
Can we swap cameras, Jackie, so we can see what you're doing in the saucepan?
What do you want to do, sorry?
Look in the saucepan. Can we swap camera?
Swap camera?
Yeah, because we can't see the saucepans.
I would have to go in and out and change the video. Hang on, let me just... how am I going to do that? Let me swap it round this way. Is that going to work that way?
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah.
It's not going to be quite as... so I'm getting the edge of my iPad there. This one has started to boil already. You might see it on that one as well, actually. You don't want to see my face. Is that good? Can you see that? Or this one is starting to boil. Now, you don't want it boiling really rapidly. You just want a nice, steady simmer. Already, I don't know whether you can see that on the spoon. It's already quite purple. I mean, everybody knows what it's like cooking red cabbage. It's just everything goes purple, doesn't it? Right, let's pop this on. So it's a fine line between letting it just be hot enough and just letting it simmer. Sometimes I pop salt in. I believe, I mean, because I'm not an expert on this, but I believe it helps to draw the colour out sometimes. So I am going to throw a little bit of salt in. I hope that's right, Sally. Sally's in our ink collective that's in the call today.
Yeah, I used to add it, and then I sort of drifted into not adding it.
Right, okay.
And it does make a nice crystally effect when you paint with it. So
yes,
yeah.
But I suppose it depends on how much you put in, doesn't it? Yeah. Right. Now, I would suggest if you're going to do this at home, you don't use these saucepans for anything else. You just use them for your ink making, because some of the things that you might be making your inks out of might possibly be poisonous. So even though it's stainless steel and it can be washed, I wouldn't recommend that you use it for anything else. Same with your wooden spoons as well. I mean, it's all right for me here because I'm doing it at the studio, so it's not likely that I would use these for anything else. So this one's just come up to the boil. I'm going to turn it down. Right, turn it. These are amazing. Has anybody got an induction hob at home? They're absolutely fantastic.
Someone's asked a question, Jackie, about the hob. Do you know what brand it is?
The hob.
Yeah.
I think it was probably bought from Amazon. And it's an Bossy, AOBOSI. The other hob that I've got, let me just show you the other hob. It's just a little kind of, you know, hob like that, little electric hob. But I just thought, oh, I could have 3 inks on the go today, and I thought that's probably just a little bit too much for me to keep my eyes on what's going on with 3 of them. I usually only make 1 at a time because I've only just got this induction hob, and I normally only make 1 at a time. Right, there is a little bit of colour starting to come out of the avocado. We're getting sort of a goldeny amber colour. It's hard to tell at the moment. Oh, that's bubbling a bit. Oh, it stinks, it really does. I don't know whether you can see the colour on that now. If you look online, there's quite a lot of stuff out there now about botanical inks. I was having a quick look yesterday. You tend to find a lot of information about people that are going to use them for textiles and dyeing wool. And it's a slightly different method because you have to add mordants and things to the wool. And I suppose in a way, the modifiers are kind of like the mordants that you would use in dyeing yarn. But we just want to use these on paper. So it's a slightly different process. Right, I think I'm going to test it. I'm going to tip that way slowly. I'm going to get my brush in, and I'm just going to try my first colour test with this. Oh, I just need some water. Let me just tilt that one so that you can still see. Have it to on again. I'm just going to dip that in, and I'm just going to see what my first colour is going to look like. And even though the ink looks really, really dark in the saucepan, it's actually going on quite pale. I don't know whether you can see that. It's like a pale grey, it kind of looks at the moment. And you just think that it would look so purple on the paper, but it doesn't always work like that. So I'm just going to carry on cooking it down a little bit longer. I have got some red cabbage that I made a while ago in the fridge. I do tend to keep my botanical inks in the fridge because they are very much a live thing, and they can grow mold on them. So again, you have to be careful when you're using them and opening them. We tend to just kind of either take the mold off the top or just, you know, use them as they are, just push the paintbrush through the mold to use them for creating art. But we do put a preservative in, which is a clove. I put a single clove in each bottle. And I was a bit not quite sure whether it was actually doing anything, but I made a botanical ink at home out of sloe berries that I got in the freezer, and I hadn't got the cloves at home because they were here. And that went mouldy very, very quickly, even though it was in the fridge. So I think it does actually make a difference putting the cloves in. Not a lot of that yet. So I'm just wondering, I might just get that up a little bit, reduce that down a little bit. A little bit more colour. I've got my little pallets here, and these are what I got, a load of these. I mean, I know they're plastic, but I use them again and again and again. And these are what I mix my modifiers in with the ink. And I've got a whole pile of them. I mean, they're absolutely beautiful things. If you leave the ink in them and they dry, I just think they're just absolutely gorgeous, aren't they? They're like little worlds, little planets. And I often take photos of them. I lay them out and I just take photos of them because they're so beautiful when they dry. And I feel quite sad when I have to wash them out. So I've got a whole pile of these, and I'm going to get my modifiers into my little sections while that's bubbling away. I'll turn it down just a tiny bit. So I've written on them what I'm going to put where. So I've got bicarb of soda, soda crystals, citric acid, alum, rust water, and vinegar. And I use white distilled vinegar. And I've got a little pipette. Little pipettes are really good for getting some of the liquidy stuff out and for getting the ink out as well when you want to mix it with the modifiers. So I'm going to put my rust water in first. So this is vinegar. Again, this doesn't smell so great. With a rusty nail in it. And you get this kind of like lovely, lovely rusty concoction. What tends to happen when you add the rust water to your ink, it will darken the ink. I'm not going to put a massive amount in, just a few drops.
Jackie, we've got another question. Does the ink ever go mouldy when it's on the paper?
No, I've never known that. No, because it dries and it's dry. So never had any mold form on the paper. And you think sometimes that because you're like the red cabbage is so smelly that it would actually smell, and it doesn't once it's dried. Because you'd think you'd send it, you know, when we send it to the other people in the ink collective, that they'd open up their envelope if they got it in an envelope, and it would smell really horrible. But it doesn't. It's just completely neutral. So it's good to know. Right. Okay. So I've got some bicarb of soda. And hopefully I can get my spoon in. Just put a little tiny bit of that in. I mean, it's quite nice. It's a bit like, well, it's chemistry, I suppose, isn't it, really? You're making the ink more alkaline or more acid, and I think that's how it changes the colour of it. This is my alum powder, which is also called Botanical powder. I don't know how you pronounce it, and I think you can buy it from, you know, Indian supermarkets. Let's turn that down. Put a little bit of that in there as well. Alan. Soda crystals, you can buy them in a big bag. These are my soda crystals. And I think they're like £1 or something like that for a bag. I mean, it's an enormous amount, but it's really useful stuff, and you can make all sorts of things. You can use it around the house for unblocking drains. It's quite a natural thing to use. And cleaning, you can use it for cleaning in the house. So it won't go to waste. And citric acid, again, I bought this, it's quite a big bag, but you can use lemon juice. It's just, yeah, just citric acid. So lemon juice will do the job as well. Oh, I put that in the wrong one. You know what? I'm going to write on. I'm going to change that, and I'm going to write on different things because I put them in the wrong place. So that's soda. And that's citric. And then we just put a little bit of vinegar. Just ordinary white distilled vinegar from Sainsbury's, which I've had for ages and it's still going strong. I mean, you probably could use cider vinegar, or, I mean, again, another little, you know, if you're one of these people that's really into doing loads of experiments and tests, then you could try lots of different vinegars and see what kind of reaction it has on the colour. Maybe. Right, let's get my pipette in there, make sure my pipette is clean. So it's reduced down a bit. Not everywhere. Is it doing that? Shooting out? I think it's because it's hot. I don't want it shooting out. Right, can you see the colour of that pink straight away? Can you see these colours or not? Is it too far away?
No, we can see them.
This is reacting really well. Oh, wow, look at that. Just going to hold it to the canvas as you can see. You see the different colours? Yeah. They're amazing, aren't they? So I'm going to draw them on now. I'm just going to write what they are. So this is red cabbage. So that's the unmodified colour there. And then we will go for bicarb next. Make sure you clean your brush in between the different colours as well. Bicarb. And this is like bubblegum pink, citric acid. So that's citric. Wow. This is the exciting bit. That is amazing. I think these look different to the colours that I made last time with it. So that's the soda crystals. I mean, you wouldn't believe that it's like coming from a purple substance. Right, do vinegar.
Jack, we've got another question.
Yeah.
Have you tried them in a calligraphy pen, and would some kind of mordant make them more light fast?
I've tried them in dip pens, so just a bamboo dip pen, and I've used them with that, and it's pretty good with that. I have no idea whether mordant would make them more light fast. I mean, what kind of thing are they thinking of when they say mordant? Are they going to put something in the chat just to say what it might be that they were thinking of adding? See, because I'm not a textile person, I don't really know a lot about mordants.
Alum, it's Sally talking. It's alum is a mordant used with fabrics and walls.
So yeah, so
And
that's
one
what
of
I
the
was thinking. Some of these are kind of mordants, aren't they, in a way, really?
I think do you find, Jackie, when you make an ink with alum, it does hold its colour more?
I
think
you
it
know, I
might
haven't
do.
really noticed, but I bet if I looked at the samples that I've already done, I might pick out ones in alum that are much brighter.
Yeah. I think
I'll have a look in a sec.
Yeah.
Because alum is like really gone purple here. And I might compare them with the ones that I've done before. And because they change colour quite quickly, sometimes it is nice to use them when they're very fresh. Because as I said, this looks really sort of black now, the ink that I've got. I might go and get it out the fridge in a minute and just see what it's like. So that's absolutely beautiful. Where's the other ones that I do? Let me just compare them. I mean, they have faded. These ones have faded, but that was the original ones. This hand. Actually, they're not far off, are they? Not far off. But the distilled malt vinegar was like really kind of emeraldy colour on my first test, and now it's come out like a mauve pink. So it's very strange, unless I got mixed them up when I was doing them on the day. So yeah, so that's really nice. I mean, I have got here as well, which I know if you're doing it properly, you would probably do it like this, and they're lovely little like litmus paper tests that you just dip them in the ink. It's probably a lot quicker to do it than how I'm doing it, and then you write on the date and what it is and what you put in it. And I do have a few of these, but they are really, really sweet. But I've just kind of got into this system of doing them on a big sheet of paper. I mean, I think I wrote down acid-free paper, and I'm not actually 100% sure that this is acid-free paper that I've got, but it's nice watercolour paper, so I'm hoping that it is. Right, I'm going to tip this one out into a jug, and I'm going to let it steep for a little bit longer, and then I'm going to get another ink on the go. I mean, in terms of the red cabbage, it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick to make the red cabbage. You could reduce it down a little bit, and you would get more intensity of colour if you wanted to. You've just got to decide how much ink you've got left and whether you can afford to lose any more, really. Right, so that's there. I'm just going to get rid of this, just wash it. Whew, stinks. We'll get another one on the go. I think I might go for an onion skin one because I'm not getting a huge amount of colour out of my avocado skins at the moment. So, onion skins. Again, I really like using onion skins because it's something that's kind of a waste thing, really. I mean, it's, you know, I haven't really talked about going out and foraging or anything a lot. I think you have to be very careful. We were talking about it in the ink collective the other day, and only take a small handful of something, and only take it if you look around the area and you think it's growing in abundance and that it, you know, there's enough food for the local wildlife, maybe take a small handful of it. But I think we have to be very careful not to go around taking things from the wild. So if you can make inks and things from things that you have around the house and things that are leftovers or, you know, excess really, then I think that's absolutely brilliant to do that. I mean, onion skins, you know, it is amazing to be able to use onion skins in this way. Right, function. Okay, that's on the go. And red onion skins are great as well, of course. There is a little bit of colour coming out of these. I might test it in a minute and see what it's like. I'm just noticing the time, it's 10 to 12. I don't know whether you want to do questions or anything, Mandy, or are we all right for a little bit longer just to see what happens with the onion skins?
Yeah, we're okay for time, yeah. But if anyone's got any questions while we're waiting for that to cook, yeah, feel free, jump in.
And again, I'd say be very careful about, you know, what you're picking and what might be poisonous, and just be aware of what you might be having in your house and just be extra safe with it. But you can make botanical inks with, you know, bark, with roots, with stems, with twigs, all sorts of different things, and they might give you, you know, different test results. You know, the same plants could have several colours in different elements of the plant, which is quite interesting. I mean, it's a bit of a wormhole to go down, and you could get really, you know, fascinated by it. But I do it as a, you know, I really enjoy doing it, and I really enjoy the Botanical Ink Collective that I'm in, and our lovely challenges that we set up every couple of months. And we're based all around the country, and a couple of us, one of us is near Inverness and one of us is in Kent, and we're hoping to have a get together in my studio possibly in the summer, and we're just going to start looking at dates to be able to do that. And we've got the canal here just leading down to Riverside House in Stourbridge. So I'm sure we'll be able to have a little wander around and see what interesting things we can find in the area. Even on the site here at Ruskin Glasshouse College, there's lots of interesting things growing. There's ivy and nettles and all sorts of things that you'll be able to make ink from.
Yeah, you collected some dock leaves this morning, didn't you?
I did, yes. I haven't made any ink today. But the dock leaf I thought was lovely. I mean, it's faded already, I think, but I was very pleased with the colours that I got from the dock leaves. Again, it doesn't look like much when you first, you know, paint it on the paper, but as soon as you start adding the modifiers, it comes to life. And you might find you paint it on the paper and it looks really pale, but once it's dried, it has a darker colour as well. You know, they're all really different and really unique, and I love doing it. Now there's quite a lot of colour come out of this already. I don't know which camera I'm holding it to. Can you see there? It's already quite golden.
No, can you move it to over the top of your paper?
Can
you lift it? There you go.
Yeah, it's already starting to produce quite a lot of colour, that. Oh, I don't know what's beeping. Why is it beeping? I might do a little test with that onion and see what it's like. Yeah, there's a little bit of colour there. A little bit, get that bubbling away. Now I'm going to show you something, and I would probably recommend that you make it. About 2 weeks ago, I put some copper wire and some copper pieces into the vinegar, distilled malt vinegar, and put some salt into it, and have been stirring it when I've remembered. And I forgot all about it. And then about a week ago, I just forgot all about it. And then yesterday or the day before, I looked at it and it's suddenly gone bright blue. So it's kind of made a copper oxide, I think. And probably is quite a dangerous thing to have around because it's, you know, it's leaching out of heavy metal, but it's made the most incredible colour. And I think if it's used very carefully and it's not disposed of down the sink or anything, can you see the blue there? I haven't added any modifiers to this yet because I don't know whether it's safe to add modifiers because of the kind of reaction that's going on with the copper. But that's a pretty amazing thing. I know Sally doesn't use it, do you, Sally? You don't use the copper anymore. You can buy, I know people who were textile people can buy it as a powder and use it. But again, I think it's probably, you have to be very careful using those kind of materials. And I don't really think that I would recommend the use of it. Right, okay, that's even darker now. Let's just try it again.
Got another question for you while you're doing that. Have you ever created dry pigment or do reduction methods to intensify the colour? I
do reduce them, but I always make a decision on how much I've got left in the saucepan, and if I don't have a lot left, then if I reduce it down, I'm going to have nothing left. I only make very, very small amounts. You know, I use these little herb jars, and I only make enough to fill one of those. I never make it in a big batch. So it's just for my personal use, and I just make tiny amounts. I've never dried it and used it as a pigment, but I know people that do that. I mean, it's a whole other world of, you know, getting into a load of other things when I'm quite busy. Anyway, right, I'm gonna go for it with the modifiers on this one and get that one done, and then I think that's it. So, vinegar. Water. It's a very beautiful palette of colours that you're creating, really. I mean, I suppose if you look at wool that's been dyed naturally, they are very, very muted colours, aren't they? Very beautiful. Like acid dyes and all sorts of things like that. I don't really know what they put in the acid dyes to give it those bright colours, but I prefer the muted palette myself. Right, bicarb, let's get it in the right hole. Soda. This is the citric, get it right. Get it right. So, what am I doing? Oh, I'm going to watch this back later and I'm going to go, what on earth is she doing? Yeah. Oh, I'm losing my track. So this is a lot darker already. It's really golden. It looks very golden in the saucepan. I don't think it's going to be as dramatic, the colour change in this one. Ooh, the rust water is. And the citric, I put the same one in that. That's it. Right. So that one was unmodified, but just left to cook away for a little bit longer. And I just write things like longer cooked on it. And I know what that means. Right, Botanical. Yeah. It's very subtle, but there is a difference. Right. So the crystals. I mean, some of these things that I'm using might be doing the same thing. I'm not sure, because they're sort of creating an alkaline liquid. Right, that's distilled malt vinegar. The rust water. It's a nice kind of grey colour. Just got alum and citric too. That's nice. The alum's nice. Oh, look at that. Oh, I love it. I love it. Alum. Last one, citric. I'll do that right there. Quite faint, that one. Okay, can you see that there? Shall I hold it up? Which is the best one to hold it to? Or that one? I don't know. Yeah, that alum one is really nice. It's kind of a limey yellow. Great. And they're all drying now. The other one's dry quite quickly. So yeah, I think that's it.
Right. Has anyone got any more questions for Jackie?
It's all right, my sister just turned up with a nice rhubarb drink.
Have you tried rhubarb? Because I've got a massive rhubarb.
No, I haven't tried
Plant.
rhubarb. I'm sure it probably would be amazing. I think, is it the leaves? Are the leaves poisonous on rhubarb?
Yeah, they are, yeah.
You just, I mean, you know, it's just being careful again, not using the saucepans for anything else. And the same with the modifiers, not using any of the equipment that you're using with the modifiers for anything else. But it'd be interesting to see what the leaves do and what the rhubarb, the bottom part of the leaves do, the sticks. I wonder whether they would make different colours. Yeah, yeah. Beetroot's quite good as well.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously. Yeah. And sloe berries. I've got sloe berries in the freezer. They're quite good.
Aren't they just for gin?
Yeah, they can be. I think everybody's asked what they wanted to ask, haven't they? Just turn that one off.
Anyone else got any questions or? No? Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. I hope you feel inspired to make your own inks, and please share any photos you have on the Facebook page, Grow Through What You Go Through, and we will also be putting this out as a YouTube video just so you can play it back. And I think I've emailed most people the list of ingredients and what to use with the modifiers and stuff, but if I haven't, just let me know.
I mean, if anybody's got any questions, you could always forward an email to me. Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert, but hopefully I'll be able to answer anybody's questions. But it's pretty simple. Just have a go and, you know, have a go at making it and see what happens.
Alchemy, that's what it is.
Yeah, and there's lots of other modifiers I'm sure that you can use that might be around the house as well. That might, I think cream of tartar you can use, but I don't know whether it does the same things as some of the other things that I've been using here, but I know cream of tartar I've seen as well. But worth testing, especially if it's stuff you've got around the house.
Thanks, Jackie. I've really enjoyed seeing how you work. You're much tidier and more organised than
I'm not normally.
You've made a special effort, have you?
I've got a big double table here, and normally it would be spread out, and every other surface in this room would have stuff on it as well. That's my normal way of working.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Jackie. It's been really interesting. I knew it would be. When I listened to your podcast, I knew it would be.
Brilliant. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and thanks for everyone.
Spreading the inky word. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Right, I'm going to stop the recording then now.